Welcome back to the Daily Dope Show, and welcome my Michigan listeners back. Here we are again with this deadline looming, and now we are officially 1 month before the deadline that has been set. And this is actually a deadline that was extended, and this is the final deadline according to the Licensing and Regulatory Affairs spokesperson Andrew Brisboe, who you see right here. The last report I did about this, the word on the street was that Brisboe was not going to extend the deadline, and that he was pretty satisfied with the fact that they have licenses. They have licensed everybody in the whole mix, if you will. There's 5 different license categories, and there's somebody that has a license in each one of them. 2 labs, the biggest labs in Michigan, have licenses now so that things can get tested. Production has been approved, but that was only a month or so ago. Like, I don't know how they're already going to have, plants harvested and stuff like that, but apparently he thinks that by this time next month, everything will be cool and nobody will have any problems getting their medicine. Well, as I kind of alluded to last time I talked about this is definitely going to be a disaster. And there's a lot of people that are going to not have access to cannabis that need it. And if you're talking about, some people can rely on caregivers, it's not that easy. And if you think that anybody's going to there's going to be a big rush of people becoming new caregivers to make up for the gap that's about to happen, you're mistaken. All the people that know how to grow weed or want to learn or whatever, it's not something you just, hey, I want to learn how to grow weed, and the first time you pull a crop off, it's fucking medical marijuana. And then you have this whole problem of making all these marijuana products for patients that need specific things. So no, none of that's going to be ironed out by next month just because you have 5 categories of licenses out there. That's not the case. This is going to be just devastating to the medical marijuana program in Michigan that has been hailed with the highest grade. B minus was the highest grade, either a B minus or a B plus, whatever it was, the highest grade from the Americans for Safe Access group, which monitors medical marijuana programs and publishes reports every year about the situation in every state as far as medical marijuana access goes. Michigan had the highest grade last year. I don't know if that grade was this year or it was this year for last year. Whatever the case is, when the numbers come in for what happened after this, we're going to see that letter grade drop. And it wouldn't surprise me if we go all the way down to E or whatever the lowest level is. Again, we have Amy Bilocini, who is apparently the cannabis writer for the marijuana beat reporter for MLive. So thank you for the story, and let me go ahead and read it. A group of Michigan lawmakers, 9 Democrats and 1 Republican, are asking Governor Snyder to prevent a state-imposed shutdown of unlicensed medical marijuana facilities in September. State regulators have given temporary operating businesses until September 15th to obtain a state license. On September 16th, state officials plan to send out cease and desist letters to those who aren't in compliance. And said Bureau of Medical Marijuana Regulation Director Andrew Brisboe. After September 15th, any medical marijuana product sold in the state must be grown, processed, transported, tested, and sold by a business that has a new license. More than 637 businesses have applied for licenses, and 16 have been granted so far. What? There is one more licensing board meeting before the state deadline. And I'm guessing that there's going to be some more approvals. Like, there was a lot of people that got approved to go to the second level of the application process at the last meeting, and there was even a lot of people that were approved for that second level at the meeting before that still hasn't heard back. And what I think what that generally means when you get to the next level of the application process is that somebody has checked your facility out and okayed it. And then after that, then I don't know what else you wait for. But anyway, Briscoe said that the new system would be operational by the licensing deadline. I still don't agree with that. And are they ignorant to the fact that there isn't going to be any regulated product that has been grown in a regulated grow facility, tested in a regulated lab, and processed by regulated processors or whatever other, none of that's happened yet. The growers just got approved not too long ago, not long enough ago for a crop to even be grown halfway. They could have already been operating locally before they got their state license. That's a possibility. That's what we've seen in Detroit with the former NBA star. He had the grow op with 200 plants, and everybody that was working there that day got busted. Well, the judge ended up dropping the charges because they were allowed to grow those plants under an agreement by the city until they get their state license, when I'm sure they're going to be allowed to grow much more. Anyway, a group of Michigan legislators sent a letter to Snyder and Shelley Edgerton, the Director of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, asking them to extend the September 15th deadline. And by the way, when you look at this number, only 16 have been granted out of the 637. This is the fault of nobody but Laura. This is the fault of Briscoe and Edgerton. This is your guys' fault. It's not our fault. Now look, you guys charge like $48,000 for the assessment, $6,000 for the application fee. You already have, who knows how many millions. Like I haven't checked lately, but last time I checked was a long time ago. It was like 2 years ago, and you had $24 million in the coffers. And I did stories about how you guys were giving that money to people like Oakland County so they could buy more raid equipment. But you won't spend that money to hire more people to go look at people's facilities, or, you could even do temporary jobs. Now, I remember Laura made a statement where they're like, well, we don't want to hire a whole bunch of people just to handle the initial applications and then have to lay everybody off. You've heard of temp agencies, right? Oh my God. So this is totally 100. I could sit here and talk about why this is their fault all day till I turn blue in the face. This is their fault that these licenses have not been granted. And by the way, the fact that there's only 637 businesses that have applied for these licenses, the fault there is of the municipalities all over the state, of which less than 3% has opted in to this medical marijuana licensing facilities licensing act. So, I highly doubt you're going to see them put dispensaries in every city and have processors and growers enough to handle the major, because what happened was the old system got kicked down. Like, hey, you're no longer allowed, like as a grower, a caregiver, or just somebody who grew 12 plants and has extra weed, you're not allowed to go to the dispensary and sell that anymore like the old days. Nope. So there is no weed at the dispensary, and now all the people that used to go there to buy weed for their whatever medical marijuana product they were going to buy, they can't go there no more because that place either don't exist or they don't have any products or something. A lot of the people that are going to get shut down are still waiting for their license to get looked at. Back to the article. Briscoe said the new system would be operational by the licensing deadline. People in the industry aren't confident that it will be the case, potentially leaving medical marijuana patients with few sources to turn to. And countless people have been arrested and prosecuted in Michigan as caregivers or patients for transferring medical marijuana to a person that's not their patient, because apparently the interpretation of the original law is that the only person that a person can get marijuana from was their caregiver, which is ridiculous, or grow their own. Dispensaries were deemed illegal until the 2016 law, but you can't really say that applies to the old dispensaries. And it's just ridiculous, man. This is just all ridiculous. A group of Michigan legislators sent a letter to Snyder and Shelley Edgerton asking them to extend the deadline. So this is who signed it. State Senator Dave Nizek, Dearborn, Democrat. Jewel Jones, Democrat, Inkster. Frank Liberati, Democrat, Allen Park. Robert Rittenberg, Democrat, Oak Park. Patricia Green, Democrat, Warren. Youssef Democrat, Ann Arbor. Adam Zemke, Democrat, Pittsfield Township. Tom Cochran, Democrat, Mason. Dave LeGrand, Democrat, Grand Rapids. And Martin Howrlack, Republican from Troy. So those are the people you want to vote for in November, by the way, when you see them on the ballot, if you see them on the ballot. Quote, it is not acceptable to allow a bureaucratic delay to bankrupt law-abiding small businesses, to destroy jobs, and to deny epileptic children and disabled veterans access to the medicines they need, the letter from the state legislators said. And to that, I'm just going to say that I used to sell clones to a dispensary, and their municipality is no longer allowing dispensaries, so they had to shut down, and I had to change my whole life around because I no longer have that income. And I just recently went to go get a car wash, and one of the former managers of the dispensary was working as a car wash manager. I hope he was at least the manager. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? This guy had a job where he was happy and it was pretty steady, good work, good job security, probably a fun job, got to talk to a lot of people, got to interact with people and help patients, find what medicine worked the best for them and all that stuff. He went from that to just like, you want the super duper or the regular. In a car wash in Michigan, that's not a very good job security. There's hardly ever is it nice enough to even care whether your car is even clean or not. But whatever. I'm going to talk to him again and maybe get a statement about how he feels about this. But that's to say that, yeah, you guys are just a wrecking ball to the old system, and it's going to hurt a lot of people. It's going to hurt patients. It's going to hurt people that had good jobs. The state previously was going to require businesses to obtain a license by June 15th, but a new set of emergency rules issued in May changed the deadline to September 15th. Briscoe said the state has no intention of issuing new emergency rules to change the deadline again. Quote, the intention of the temporary operation rule was to provide temporary patient access. Now that we have licenses in the system, albeit a small number of licenses, I'll grant you that, there is still access. Briscoe said, at this point, based on our calculations, 2/3 of the patients in Michigan live in a county that's within 30 miles of a licensing provisioning center. And apparently he thinks that's good enough. I've heard from people that that's not good enough. There's people that have mobility issues, transportation issues. There's people that don't like to, actually have to worry about whether or not they do live 30 miles from that provisioning center, because some people don't live anywhere near anywhere where you're going to have these provisioning centers that you already granted licenses for. So 1/3 is a lot of people. You have upwards of, there's a lot of medical marijuana patients in Michigan. It's the second biggest program in the country behind California. And guess what? Not everybody lives in Ann Arbor, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Lansing, or Traverse City. I'm not sure. Burton was the other one. Briscoe said allowing businesses to temporarily operate under emergency rules with no oversight while the state launches a new regulated license program would complicate matters for the police. No, it wouldn't. How about we have a moratorium on busts anyway, and you work with the people that aren't licensed yet to try to figure out how you can get them into the system, man. They never want to do that. They want to let the cops continue to arrest people, and hey, if you get arrested while you're waiting to get your license, I guess you're just not going to get a license either. The Medical Marijuana Licensing Board canceled one of its meetings this summer and issued its first set of licenses in mid-July. All right, so remember when I was up there bitching about how this is all their fault? There's another reason why this is all their fault. How are you going to cancel a meeting when you definitely haven't even, there's not even 10% of the applications have been gone through yet? It just doesn't make any sense. Applications are lengthy and background checks are detailed, which has led to many back and forth conversations between state regulators and applicants and lawyers and consultants and all this other shit. And it's just basically more ancillary businesses and people getting paid by people that are trying to open marijuana businesses. So this is just another one of those examples of somewhere there's some greedy people trying to look for this green rush. And in the meantime, everybody else is going to suffer, and they blanket it and mask it as, oh, this is all for the patients. This is so the patients will have access to good, clean, safe medicine and not have to worry about, while they're at the dispensary having the door kicked in behind them and a shotgun put in their back of their head by the police. Quote, we are very concerned that the current pace of the application processing will not be fast enough to meet the September 15th deadline for all applicants who applied prior to February 15th, the letter reads. And that's just being nice about it, man. All right, guys, that's all I got on this. And I'm sure there will be more to come before this deadline. And then I'll have a story about the deadline, and I'm sure there will be something that happens as the cease and desist letters are going to be passed out. And I really don't know what to tell anybody. If somebody has a dispensary and they don't even have an application in, or whether you do or not, or whether you think you're going to get your application looked at or your building inspected, everybody's got a big question mark over their head as to if anything's going to happen for them. I've talked to people on the ground. I've seen what's going on the ground. It's a shit show. And these people I think they enjoy watching people suffer. I think that's mainly what it is. And they also like making a lot of money. And if you look at the way the taxes are going to work out on this shit, it seems like a scam. I don't know who's going to actually make money off this except the government and maybe, I don't know, maybe some big producers. The dispensaries aren't making it, that's for sure. All right, that's all I got. Have a good one. Peace.